depends on who all is here. Before I start my story, uh, who all works in the marketing department of your companies? Okay, that's a wide majority. What are others doing? Is it ops? Is it sales? Is it general management, technical? What are you guys? Whoever is not in the marketing department, what are you guys doing in your companies? Okay, got it.
I manage end-to-end operations as well as marketing.
Okay, got it, got it, got it. So what I'm going to do is, by the way, I also don't do marketing. So don't worry, I'm not asking people who are in the marketing departments. Uh, what I'll do is, see, had, I've been part of two early stage startups, and both we have scaled to some extent. So and a large part of that has been due to the marketing and thought leadership efforts that we have put into. So I'm going to talk about my journey, and on the way, give you guys pointers. So I typically don't like to give gyan. I like to share my experiences, because that's what matters. So I'll share my experiences, and then each of you can have your own takeaways on what you can take that and implement it in your own business. So brief background, I am a Puneite in terms of my college. I went to College of Engineering, Pune here. Then I went to Stanford University in California, where I did my master's in management sciences. Spent about 2 years at Stanford University. Then I spent about 3.5 years building a company called MiG-33. You could assume this as a first version of WhatsApp. Sometimes early movers have a disadvantage. We grew the company to more than 50 million users in 3 years. It was that time the mobile internet ecosystem in India, the mobile app store ecosystem was not as prevalent. So still not a bad outcome. We listed the company on the Australian Stock Exchange for about 200 million US, and we're relaunching that in India. I still help the founder in doing that. So MiG-33 was a mobile messaging app in the virtual world. We were trying to become the QQ of the rest of the world. QQ is one of the most valuable internet companies in China. Post that, I came back to India and started Jombe. With MiG-33 also, I used to come back every other month here. We'd grown to 50 million users by sheer referral, no ad dollars, PR, thought leadership, and referral marketing. That's what we did at MiG-33. Jombe, I'll speak about Jombe a little bit on the next slide so you guys have a sense. So what we build at Jombe is a Jombe quotient. So you have EQ, you have IQ, right? We're building the JQ of India. JQ helps companies objectify their talent decisions. So currently most companies use us for hiring and promotions. How do you promote the right talent who has the potential to lead? You might have star individual contributors, but they may not be capable of leading teams. Jombe helps companies in hiring the right talent as well. So we work with Citi, Nestle, Kotak, HDFC Bank, Taj Hotels, Infosys, WNS. A whole range of companies use Jombe to hire and promote talent. And this has been, we launched the product about 18 months ago. And I'll tell you what all we have achieved. And then hopefully I will tell you how we have achieved that, so you'll have takeaways as we end the session. So in the last 15 months or 18 months of our commercial launch, 1 in 3 HR, so we sell to HR. So the HR heads are our target audiences, or in some places the business heads are the CEOs. So what this company has managed to do, and that's what my session is today about. So how do you build a brand with common sense and honesty without spending any ad dollars? So in the last 15 to 18 months, 1 in 4 HR, if not 1 in 3, knows about Jombe. They have heard about us. They may not know exactly what we do, but they have heard the name Jombe. And that's quite an achievement. To actually get, without spending money, across the country, get 1 in 3 HR professionals know of you is what we've done. And I'm going to share how we did that. If you see, 1, if not twice a month, we are featured in Economic Times. And we don't pay them. I get my editorials in Mint. I get editorials in Hindu Business Line. And this is by sheer thought leadership. And there's a whole lot of coverage. Of course, some of them, I do agree, startups are being romanticized in India right now. So if you see newspapers, 1/3 of them is startups, other 1/3 is Flipkart, and other 1/3 is everybody else. So that definitely helps. But there are Hazar different startups who were trying to vie for that space. So how did Jombay did it better than others is what I'm going to share with you. So this is some of the coverages, and there's a whole lot more. Of course, we also get my co-founder Suruchi, women entrepreneurs, slightly easier to get into the media as well than men. So we do leverage that also. That definitely helps. She has been featured regularly. She was selected for all 3 years as one of India's top 5 women entrepreneurs. So definitely we do leverage that. So one lesson is look at what advantages you have. You can't have only one spokesperson all the time. So depending on where it is suitable, there are times when the media calls me and say, hey, want to profile Jombay, but I don't want to speak to you. I want to speak to your co-founder. So sure, I mean, you can't have an ego and say, no, I'm the CEO and talk to me, and why do you want to talk to my co-founder? So you have to play to your advantage. That's lesson number 1. Look what your strengths are and no ego. As long as your company is getting profiled, doesn't matter who is the spokesperson, right? So how did we do it? So one was common sense, and I'm going to speak through all of this. Common sense that, see, marketing is not rocket science. It's sure common sense. You just have to be intellectually honest about understanding that. Second was self-belief, and I'll talk about all of this as we get in. And third is be honest. It's not the world of ghostwriters. Doesn't work. It needs sincerity. It needs to be core to your strategy. Then only it works. And I'll talk about all of that as I get through. So, as such, I have always been a very private person. I didn't even post on Facebook, or I didn't even make opinions on things. Yaar, log kya bolenge? What if I write something wrong? What if, it creates a controversy? Is it people will perceive, bahut show off kar raha hai? Right? So I've been in a lot of ways, a fairly private person. Lot of my mentors. So I remember one of the guys, when I was in California, somebody in India who had sold his company to Swiffy for 150 million US 15 years ago had told me that, why don't you start blogging? I said, Arey, what will I blog? I don't know. It might take too much of my mind space, and I'm not, and I've always been resistant to that idea of how can I be so transparent about my life on the media. So been very awkward, but what changed 15 months ago was the business need. My company needed me to be the face. The medium had changed. The world is hyper competitive right now. Right? What you are trying to say, somebody else can also say as well as you are saying. Regardless of the person having the product that you have, they will still go and talk the same language. Right? So everybody speaks the same language. I have psychometric assessments. There will be 3 other people going and telling the HR head, I also have a psychometric assessment, which is, slightly better than Jombay. Jombay might say we're slightly better than somebody else. Everybody speaks the same language, and the world is hyper competitive right now. So how do you differentiate? That's where we said we need to talk a different language. We can't talk the run-of-the-mill stuff that everybody, all these corporate jargons that have been thrown by HR consulting firm for years together, this company needs to change that. It was a sheer need. And that need changed a lot for me personally. The reason I'm standing in front of you is that why would these guys call me otherwise, right? How would you guys come to know about me? If I was not open about what we do, why would I get opportunity? Why would I be featured in the Fortune 40 under 40 list? The world needs to know the good work that you do. But the problem is, if you speak the language that everybody else speaks, you will not get attention. So, second was the self-belief. Lot of times we feel, अरे अपने को आएगा क्या कुछ angle दिखते हैं? Can we really play a marketing play that will get attention? It's just in your mind. You got to believe that you have an intelligent and interesting perspective, and that you can pull it out, and you can't over-intellectualize that. That self-belief needs to change, and it changed a lot for me. Despite having credentials, I've studied at one of the best universities in the world. There was no reason for me to be so introspect about what I speak or what I write. But just I was a different person. But just sheer self-belief that I can really talk something interesting and I can have an opinion, and that opinion can be valued, changed a lot of things for us. So my journey started with LinkedIn. I looked for what is the easiest way to get distribution. Beauty about blogging on LinkedIn is you get free distribution. They send out emailers to your connections, and I have several thousand people of my target audiences who have added me on LinkedIn. So I have 8,000 connections on LinkedIn. So whatever I write goes to them as well. So I said instead of creating my own blog, I will leverage LinkedIn. That's why my journey started. I have a rule of not writing more than 3 paragraphs on my blog. At worst, nobody wants to read beyond that. Learn, and this thing was learned by my boss. So I've been fortunate to work with some of the best minds in the world. So my first boss, when I was at MiG-33, very early days, used to head mobile for Yahoo globally. Yahoo in its golden days. The second boss was head of marketing for Skype. His rule was, if you don't write to me in 2 lines and tell me what you want from me, I'm not going to read your email. I was shit scared. I mean, a lot of that, what I learned on how do you communicate what you want to communicate in 2 lines. It's possible. It's hard, but it's possible. You will really think twice. Do I really need to write this? That changed, and I have implemented that. You go and read. So if you go on my LinkedIn profile, Mohit Gundecha, and there are posts, go and see those posts. Max 3. Really, really stretched 4th paragraph. And these paragraphs, not these paragraphs. These paragraphs I'm talking about 3 or 4 lines. So start, A, rule is keep it short. B, just ask one simple question. I'm going to reiterate that at the end of this also. Am I writing the same shit everybody writes? Nobody's going to read you. You're not the Google of the world. And even they do much better job than what you do. So because there are 10 other people who are trying to write, you don't have the right to be heard if you write the same thing that everybody writes. And when I say write, take this from your own way of marketing. When you writing is not just for your blog. Any campaign that you do in any sorts, if you are trying to do what anybody else has done, at best you will get mediocre success. You will not be stellarly successful. So that's where my journey started. Said, let's start. And a lot of people subscribed. Over time, the blog subscription base, today, several thousand people in India subscribe to my blog. And that has become and includes a lot of media professionals as well. So a lot of my blog stories become media stories. And it doesn't happen overnight. And I'll run you through that journey. A lot of time it's common sense. I told you already. What do you write? I'll give you an example. So I have a discipline, and I typically blog once in 15 days because that's good enough for me to generate enough momentum for my company, because I've reached to that scale where, and then people look forward to that, what's my next piece. So we all saw Flipkart and Snapdeal founders taking a stab at each other, right? Does India have required product talent or software talent or whatever, right? Now, I'm in the business of measuring human behavior. I help companies measure behavior. It's in the talent space. So it's right in my alley, right? I have data to support whatever argument that I can make. So simple thing, I just took, my blog post was India's got talent, but India's got talent. We have solid cognitive talent. We have people, we're intelligent people. But what India doesn't score enough is on the behavioral traits, the attitude of risk-taking, the attitude of creativity, adaptability. We don't score well versus the global. I just put that data out. It's going to be covered by one of the top dailies as a full-page story. And my audience loved it. It was timely. Because everybody had read it, right? So it was just sheer common sense. What can I blog? Which, of course, there were two of the darlings of Indian e-commerce fighting against each other. I can give an expert opinion on that space, but I'm just not giving gyan. I'm giving data to support that. I'm not saying this. The data is saying that. People don't want to hear gyan. People either want to hear a fact or your own experience. What have you done? So don't give gyan. Nobody's interested in reading. So just and it's common sense. Trust me. There have been enough of the HR. We have only one salesperson, Mansi and I. This is only 2 salespeople who have managed to get the kind of customers I showed you. Because most of our customers come to us inbound, saying, hey, let's catch up. Once you catch up, business happens. You want to get to that stage where your target audience tells, hey, let's catch up. So the second thing always has been, as a company, do good and talk about it. A lot of that will give you good PR, good marketing leverage. So let me show you what I mean.
A very large chunk of today's organizations are women, and a significant number of women travel by cabs and be there at their offices at odd hours. This is all possible because of the cab services. Because of few crooks around who are getting into shameful acts, the entire driver community is seen in negative light. And to show our support, Jombe is associating with Taxi for Sure to surprise all the cab drivers in Pune. And what better gift than a Kashmiri shawl this winter? A shawl symbolizes warmth and protection.
एक इंसान की वजह से जितने भी टैक्सी ड्राइवर है उनका प्रॉब्लम है।
मैंने मैडम को पिक किया और हमें नहीं पता था कि इतना बड़ा ये लोगों ने फंक्शन रखा हुआ है।
अचानक ड्राइवर लोगों को चलो भाई ऐसा किया उन्होंने, तो बहुत अच्छा लगा।
This Christmas, we are bringing a smile to someone who least expects it. Thank you so much and Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas!
It was around Christmas time. We were trying to figure out what do we do this Christmas, right? Somebody came up and said, there are all the cab drivers are being painted in the same light because of the shameful act of the Uber cab guy in Delhi. So she said, I want to help these guys. I want to do something that I can give back to the community. Now, forget the marketing leverage. We got a huge marketing leverage by the way, by this. But what my team felt nice. See, beyond a point, the reason companies are successful is because your people believe in your team and people believe in what you're doing. So for me, it's important that this team of people, I've hired some of the smartest people in this country. They relate to the cause and they try to do things for the company. So apart from we felt so good about doing what we did because this video, I have seen this firsthand. That first-hand experience was far better than what you see here. You could see literally tears in their eyes. They were amazed by what we did for them. So do good and talk about it. You will get PR as well. But you need to believe, you need to do things for the community. Whatever size company you are, doesn't matter. You don't need to be a large conglomerate to be able to do CSR. And that's predominantly going to be so you will see a lot of change happening in marketing with CSR coming into the picture. Companies will do good and they already do. You see a lot of brands even do interesting things for their community and then they leverage PR out. Nothing wrong about doing that, but predominantly do good for the community. Marketing will happen post that. Then it's about riding the wave. See, so what's the wave right now, right? Everybody is talking about e-commerce and food tech and startups and all of that. So how do you ride the wave? So I got a Skype ping on my, so we use Skype for internal communication. Should I buy this dress or that dress? And the girl had put it by mistake in my chat window. So I was a bit scandalized. I pinged my co-founder and said, let's block this e-commerce shit in our office, right? It's draining productivity. She said, are you kidding me? There's a virtual mall sitting in their phone. You block it on the internet, they will do it there. Why not use this as a team bonding exercise? Why not make this a social shopping experience? So every alternate day or once or twice a week, we all get together and what we do is shop. We talk about deals, books, apparels, whatever. So that increased productivity. It got people together. Now what we had to do was, we did something interesting, right? What others have not done. Just talk about it. Go and talk to the media, because this is e-commerce is interesting. Go talk to your potential customers of what you do. Teach them. They will learn from what you did, and the perception about your company changes. So look at what's the wave. What will get you quick thing? And no PR agency can teach you this. You have to experiment and do it again and again and again. So we were on the front page of Economic Times for this. Startups like Jombay and Helpstrip encourage employees access e-commerce sites, whatever, right? Crowdsource. I don't claim to be the expert. Lot of my ideas that of what I write or what kind of campaigns we do come from my team. You got to have a smart team. And they come only via discussions. Never assume that you have the best idea in the world. You will start with something, at the end of 30 minutes, your ideas will change. But just be open. It should not be an ego game. I am the CEO, that's why I am the highest paid person in the company. So my idea is the best idea. It doesn't work like that. So crowdsource. Then it's discipline. See, this is not a flash in the pan. Ek bar kar diya and then you ride the wave. I came this month on ET, or I came, my blog got few hundred comments, or I got few hundred emails to my replies to my email campaign, and then I just rest on the laurels. You have to keep doing all the time, because if you're not in the mind, somebody else will take that mind share. You got to be insecure, literally insecure. The month that I don't see our PR working, I get insecure. I start thinking, shit, what's the next thing we need to write about? You cannot take it easy. This is hyper competitive space, right? Everybody is vying for attention. You got to ride the wave and keep doing it on and on and on, so that your target audience looks forward to what you send. I am not kidding. People wait for what we send. Ye abhi kya karenge? What would be the next thing that they will do? And you have to raise the bar, and it's hard to do it again and again. Every 15 days, you have to come up with something. People say, wow, man, what a company. It's really hard. But when you're passionate about it, you will do it. So keep the discipline. It has to be core to your strategy. As a CEO, I drive this. I know, because it gets me business. It cannot be, are haan, kar rahe marketing wale. Your marketing, everybody can do. Your entire team needs to back you. For you to really take it to this level that we have taken, it needs to be core to your strategy. You need to believe that this is making an impact. And the world has changed. I've told you before as well, you got to be known. And the world works on perception. They have not used your product. What will push them to use your product is the perception about you as a company. And you got to build that perception. People now even, our target potential customers even track what team outings we do. We've just created that perception that we are a very interesting and innovative company. To a large extent we are, but you got to tell the world that you are. How would they know otherwise? And that perception builds on perception, and it's a chain. One thing leads to other, and other thing leads to other, and other thing leads to other. That's what will drive, that puts network effects in your whole PR gig. So this is an interesting email I got. So one of the large media dailies in India, perhaps they are the largest or the second largest dailies in the country. Their CEO happened to get my blog from somewhere. And he didn't see my background. He must have been busy. He's been getting the snippets of what I write. He forwarded this to his HR head and said, can we hire this guy? Yeah. So I get a call that, and funnily that HR head had also not done the research. CEO ने बोला है, उसने phone उठाया और call किया. So I'm calling from -- Times, and our CEO is pretty impressed how you write, and he writes a bi-monthly newsletter to the entire team, because they have some internal magazine that, and he has to write the editorial, whatever the first page of that internal magazine. Can you write for us or what? So I said, tell your CEO that this quality comes when you do it with sincerity. You can't hire ghostwriters. It doesn't work like that. See, your copy changes, messaging, grammatical mistake, all of that is fine. That team can help. But if the core is to be written by somebody else, Because see, what happens is when you are, or especially the advantage that I have is, I come across very interesting experiences. Yeah, I travel a lot. 5 days of the week I'm out of Pune because our customers or investors, whatever is all out. So I come across a lot of interesting experiences that I pick on the way and document at times. You can't expect the ghostwriter to come and do that for you. You to just, then I run an interesting company. You have lots of ups and downs. You learn a lot. In entrepreneurship, teaches you a lot. Those are the learnings at times you can put it out. So you cannot be replaced completely by a ghostwriter. Don't even try that. And then I leave you guys with one simple message. I said that anything that you do, any campaign, I told I'll remind you this. Just ask one simple question. It will change the way you do marketing. Am I talking the same corporate shit or corporate jargons that everybody talks about? If I am, there's no point doing this campaign. I will not get the desired. It's not about quantity. This world is not about number of posts and number of posts or mentions or whatever. What's the impact that you are making? Yeah, so I'll take questions now. Anything else? If I talk the language that, hey, we help you in business school hiring, we measure cognitive behavioral capabilities of your people, and we will make sure that you hire good people. Everybody will speak the same language. The way we cracked it, it's saying, crack the brag and buzz of the suit boots. Right? Suit boots are typically in B schools. You will have people. So instead of, because that first language everybody speaks. Everybody goes and claims that I help you hire the best people. How do you get attention? Is by the language that people will look at it and say, okay, so this is something different. I haven't come across this. I'm saying the same thing in just a different way. So, and it has taken us a while. It has taken me some time. So fortunately, I am not in deep execution. A lot of my team members are. When you're in execution, it's hard to realize I'm doing the same shit. You have to slightly step out and say, shit, what's the point? Am I going to get attention? So it's critical that we teach our people around as well. That just ask yourself a simple question. Just look around. Why would somebody read mine versus reading somebody else's? Especially when you're not a brand.
So when I'm reading an email and when I'm in marketing, I have like tons of vendors who keep coming to me and trying to sell a service, pitch something to me. So I see my keywords. I see, okay, this guy's saying content, he's saying social media. I'm not saying that it differentiated me. Okay, this guy's, it's not spam. You know what I'm saying? It's a targeted email that is relevant to me other than somebody just sending me a
So you see what we've tried to do. So let's say I do all kinds of things. I don't write only what is relevant to the person. So let's say we write very interesting out of office replies. So I had written a blog post. Out of box, out of office. People write a lot of usual stuff. I'm blah 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 traveling. If I'm not around, contact whatever. Everybody writes that. But why not use that as an opportunity? I described my vacation saying, hey, I'm not going to take your emails. I'm going to spend time with my son on the beach, whatever. I wrote a fairly interesting 4-liners you'll see on the blog. And that connected me with people. They will then go and check you out, what you do. So it's because problem is, as you said, there are 50 emails that come every day, right? Why would you read mine versus 49 others? And that's the trick. And of course, people will read and continue to read. If you just don't do marketing faff and have no thing underneath, then that's not anyway going to fly. Then you rather don't do marketing is what I advise.
It's a thin line. Right?
Yeah, you have to balance.
But somewhere I feel there are times when you also end up alienating. If you're too differentiated, you end up alienating your audience.
So, I haven't seen that, but could be. If you don't do it right, it can really backfire. I have an advantage as a founder to write. Maybe I'm not seen as a marketing guy trying to push things. So depends on how you position. And fortunately, the early things worked for us. Now we've reached to a level that whatever we write, people still take it, but we have to keep doing it again and again. So, JQ is a Jombe quotient. So the way you have EQ and IQ, JQ helps you hire for the right cultural fitment in your organization. So it's a score that you get around a behavior of a person. Does that behavior fit the cultural? So what happens is people hire for skills and fire for behavior. And a lot of companies have realized that these are expensive rehires. If you don't get the right person, they will fire that out. So we help companies measure the JQ, the behavior. So, my advice is typically not to be very, very restricted to your company's domain. You need to be slightly broader. So I take advantage of startups. I take advantage of people in general, right? Because that's a topic works across the board. Doesn't need to be only psychometrics. Of course, I write about hiring but I take care of like there are very interesting ways we interview people. We do very unconventional things when we interview people. There have been cases where somebody had come and by design, some of us started doing push-ups. We wanted to see how fast this guy adapts to this environment. Just blog about it. It can become a story. So there are multiple things you can do around the domain where you feel you can give an opinion. So short answer, startups. I talk about people and companies in general. And then I do also talk about, because I was in the US and been here. So the difference of Silicon Valley versus India, etc. So wherever you feel you can add an interesting perspective, I would keep it that way. Otherwise it can become very monotonous. You can't keep sending the same thing or writing the same thing again and again. No, our strategy was predominantly make Mohit Gundecha the face of Jombe. Because in our kind of thing where it's around people want to see a face to the... So now we've reached a stage that where we will diversify our spokespeople, like we'll now get the second tier of the company be more visible as well. That's a great question. If that's the case, I would typically post it on Facebook and not on LinkedIn and vent it out there. But since I run the company, I can influence the opinion to a large extent. But there are times where some people may not agree with. So there are cases where I want to write about something, but 3 of my team members come and say, look, I don't think, because I am fairly open to feedback. They say no, and this is not going to fly. Then either I convince them or they convince me, and life moves on. So there is an agreement to something. Yeah. So if they don't agree with me, then I post it on Facebook and I don't post it on LinkedIn.
So you bounce off everything.
Yeah. You see, you need to take opinion. Because they can really help you fine tune what you're thinking, how you're thinking. And especially now where it's too many people. यार पहले जब शुरू कर रहे थे company कुछ भी लिख देते थे तो it doesn't hurt, right? Now you got to have people around who can really challenge what you do. It shapes, it helps in a lot of ways. There are times they will say यार ये बहुत लंबा आ रहा है. I mean, people come up to me. I have built that culture. Where the last guy in the company can come up and say, it's taking too long for you to come to the point. Good feedback, right? Then you rethink and say, maybe I pull off something out of here.
So what sort of conflicts does your role as a CEO place on your role as a PR face of the company?
See, there are times where there are competing priorities, right? You may want to spend more time in a product conversation, but you know that you've put discipline to yourself to blog once in 15 days. It could compete with, because as a CEO, that's one of your priorities. There are 4 other things that you're trying to do for the company. But, that's why if it's core, you will still see, okay, yaar, this helps. So let's just do this. Otherwise, it can very well, okay, yaar, next week karenge, chhod do. That next week, you will not realize where you get habitual to not keeping that frequency. So you have to put a hard thing, kuch bhi ho. Then your team also knows. They will come up with ideas. If not, कि यार इस पे लिख सकते हैं क्या, या इस पे कर सकते हैं क्या. And once it gets to scale, you can clearly see the ROI. So it's a no-brainer for us to do this. It's a clear ROI. Few hundred people replying to what you write in the in the domain that you are making is just phenomenal. Where media comes and says, "Yaar, can I use this for my story?" It's a no-brainer to do. But the challenge is and I have seen myself, you yourself rise to that level. You yourself will be surprised. Wow, मैं ये idea से आया. I came up with this idea. You will be surprised yourself कि यार, I don't think I would have इतना creativity था मेरे में. But it happens. And see, success leads to success. That confidence, and because I don't know what I'm going to blog next week, but I know I'm going to do a good job. सोच लेंगे कुछ तो आ जाएगा. I might just blog on today's session, but I will write some interesting perspective of what I learned or what I shared. Or it could be I might even just blog. We Indians are typically pretty hard on us. We don't market. So I've been brought up in an environment where we are taught to be humble. Chup beto, karo. And when I went to Silicon Valley, everybody is saying, wow, man, this is the next I'm building the next cool idea in the world. Like they just, wow, this is so exciting, right? I mean, and either you are brought up, ज़्यादा बोलने का नहीं, अपना काम करने का. You've been just brought in that environment. So there's a change. And we need to, why are Americans better marketeers than what we Indians are? We're too humble. We got to talk about what we do. And perhaps I might blog about that next week. It's just, yeah. Cool. Okay. Thanks so much. Good talking to all of you.